I took a month to travel back to my country, and this baby decided to show up when I was gone. So, we finally have a decent single fan GPU. Yeah, we do have the single fan RTX 4060, 4060 Ti, but they are meh cards. The Zephyr RTX 4070 ITX is a Chinese card just like my MSI RTX 3060 Ti, which means getting them will be more difficult. So 3 years later, we are back with another mythical unicorn single fan card. And here are some specifications of the card which I found on Zephyr's website. Clock speed is 1920 MHz and the boost clock is 2475 MHz. The memory speed is 1313 MHz, so these are basically the stock frequencies of the 4070. They don't mention the power consumption, so we can assume it uses 200 watts. For dimension, the length is 172mm, height is 123mm, and thickness is 42mm. Even though it has the same thickness as the MSI RTX 3060 Ti, the fan does not poke out of the shroud, so we won't run into the problem that the fan blades touch the side panel like the MSI card. You can see I got this issue with the card in my K39V2. As a habit, I compare the two cards to see if there is any difference. The two heatsinks are very similar, which could mean we may be able to swap these two, but I am not sure about that. The 3060 Ti's route is very open. This allows the heat to escape the heatsink to the back, the front, and the top of the card. The 4070 is pretty much a blower card, which means the heat can only escape to the front and the back of the card. You can see the bracket of the 4070 is designed so that nothing can block the hot air from getting pushed out. And I remember when I opened the RTX 3060 Ti, MSI did not have any thermal pad on the two VRMs at the front of the card, and I had to add them myself. But they had pads cover all the VRMs at this position. Then I looked at the 4070 card. This card also has the VRMs at the front just like the MSI, and it does not have any thermal pad either. However, I checked further at the back of the card. The entire array of VRMs has zero pad. What? If you look at the MSI RTX 3060 Ti, you should be able to see the pads on top of the VRM like this. To demonstrate what I meant, you can see that I can slide in and out a piece of paper very easily between the VRMs and the heatsink. It looks like I was having sexual intercourse with a card, but it is probably a sloppy second because Zephyr may have already fucked my card. Let's look at my Asus TUF RTX 3090. You can see they have thermal pads on top of the VRMs. This card has it because it was a big powerful card. Okay. Then how about the Gigabyte RTX 4060 low profile which I reviewed 1 year ago? This one is the less powerful card than the 4070. This is the VRM, and this part of the heatsink kinda blocked. But you can see the piece of thermal pad poking out from this angle. I am using common sense here. When I see other card vendors putting thermal pads on top of the VRMs, and the less known brand Zephyr does not, then I think it should be very concerning. Without any pad, there could be a period when you put a card in a tiny case with bad ventilation, and if the VRMs overheat, it may affect the performance even though the GPU temperature is fine. The game I want to see the card performs is Black Myth Wukong. In the past 2 months, I wasted nearly 80 hours on this game on my cousins and my systems. I want to check this area specifically because with my 3090, the frame rate dropped under 60 FPS. This is the 1440p graphics settings which I've been using with my RTX 3090, and we keep the same for the 4070. It is nice to see the 4070 performing similarly to my 3090 in a smaller package and less power, but the 4070 has one more advantage, which is frame generation. By enabling this, the FPS jumped up to 80+. I let the system run for 30 minutes and take a look at the top left corner. The temperature of the GPU was at 75 degrees with the clock speed at 2730 MHz. The effective clock speed was 2700 MHz, which was much higher than the specified 2475 MHz boost clock, but the hotspot temperature was very high at around 90 degrees, and I saw it hitting 93 degrees at some point. The peak power consumption I could see was 194 watts, so the card definitely needs a bit of tweaking to reduce the hotspot temperature and the noise from the fan. I decided to undervolt the card, and if you want to quickly check for stability of the GPU settings, Wukong is such a great game for it. Any minor tweak that causes instability, this game crashes instantly, which saved me a lot of time. In order to run the card at 2700 MHz, I needed to set it at 975 mV. With these settings, the GPU temperature was around 67 degrees and the effective clock speed reduced by 100 MHz to 2600 MHz. The hotspot dropped by at least 10 degrees and at most 16 degrees. Power consumption was also down to around 150 watts, so undervolting was a must. The FPS after undervolting was similar to stock settings, and you can see it going up to 80+ after turning on frame generation. The card does not have 0 decibel fan mode, so at idle, the fan spins at 1250 RPM. In conclusion, I like the card as it looks really good, but I can't recommend you to buy this card simply because it does not have VRM thermal pad. If you buy this, you need to open the card and do the mod, and if we need to do that, why don't you buy a cheaper 4070 and a Palit heatsink on AliExpress to create a single fan 4070 yourself for cheaper. And if I am unlucky that it only happens to my card, then I can't recommend either because Zephyr has quality control issue. Zephyr definitely knows their target audience willing to spend a lot of money on this card, and they still cheap out on thermal pads? Come on! In the next video, I will try opening the card and applying thermal pads on the VRMs. I will also put it into an ITX case to see how it performs. Stay tuned.